Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition, and we now turn to poem 272. I breathed enough to take the trick. Here, take will actually mean the word learn. And this is going to be an interesting poem. The scholar David Preith calls this one of Emily's most macabre poems. Certainly, Emily, we've seen this already in our study, is dancing the dance with death at times. And we're going to play that game here. It is clear something tragic is going on in Emily's life. Tragic enough that she feels like she is in fact dead, or quite soon to be dead. We'll obviously have to talk about it. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through our set of introductory comments. I'm hopeful that you've worked through the preceding 271 poems. We just finished with 271, A Solemn Thing It Was I Said. Now, here again is Emily's playing with the idea of death, or soon to be death, but we again don't know why she feels this death. Maybe it's rejection, maybe it's pain. But she'll say, I have a way to simulate a life. It's almost as if she's going to argue, I'm not really alive. I'm just kind of simulating my life. She'll say it this way. I breathed enough to take the trick, and now, removed from air, I simulate the breath so well that one, to be quite sure, the lungs are stirless, must descend among the cunning cells and touch the pantomime himself. How numb the bellows feels. Now, it's not completely clear that Emily is explaining why she feels this way, other than the fact that she only feels half alive at best. She'll say, I breathed enough, I've lived enough, to take the trick. That is to say, to learn the trick. Are we talking about the trick of faking like one is okay when in fact one is not? This word trick is used 3 other times of interest. Poem 369, I'll let you run it to ground. In poem 649, she calls the trick of Lily. And then in poem 688, she'll say it this way. When we get to that poem and its study, we'll come back to it. She says, speech is a prank of parliament, tears a trick of the nerve, but the heart with the heaviest freight on doesn't always move. That is to say, she seems to be suggesting that life, if you're going to get through it, requires a certain kind of trickery. She'll go on to say, now, removed from air, that is to say dead, I simulate the breath so well that one, to be quite sure, that one, notice, is capitalized, one. And it isn't quite clear what she's reading. Now, there is a counter argument to this poem that says she's not actually saying that she feels dead, but rather she has kind of decided to just leave the things that would be considered normal life. Of course, Emily would know that famous Pauline scripture, I have been crucified with Christ, and it is no longer I that live, but Christ lives in me. It's possible she can be here talking about the life of the poet that is somehow different from the normal life. Or, as I think most scholars have seen it, this is a really dark poem where she'll finish, the lungs are stirless. By the way, in poem 780, she'll use this one other time where the truth is stirless, must descend. And here we can't help but think of our Dante. And I think Dante is possibly standing behind much of the sentiment of this poem. Among the cunning cells and touch the pantomime. Only used one time in all our poetry, it's here. Himself, how numb, there will be a rendering of this word numb as cool in later publishing. 15 poems she uses the word numb. The bellows feels, and bellows here takes us, of course, back to the lungs. And bellows is only used one time in all of her poetry, and it's here. With an exclamation point to at the end, feels. It isn't clear to us whether this poem is written as a downer poem or a majestic, I am doing this kind of poem. I think one possible message, though, is it's hard to feel alive when you feel dead. That's one reading of it. Of course, another reading is, No, I have figured out a way through my poetry to find new life. In other words, the phoenix maybe does come to mind, out of the ashes and the like. At 2b, the word choices here are fascinating. Take, meaning, learn, pantomime, and bellows, only use in all of our poetry. As I said at 3a, I think there is a lot of Dante here. You remember in our study of Dante's Divine Commedia at learnstrong.net, we've given full lectures. Do you guys remember that we said that there's that moment in, what is it, Canto 24, right? When Dante the pilgrim is he's done, speaking in language that sounds very similar to this, and it will be Virgil that will say to him, up on your feet, this is no time to tire. The man who lies asleep will never waken, fame is desire. All his life drift past him like a dream, or ripples on a stream. That notion that I figured out a way to get through this thing, and maybe this is a theodicy of a kind, as we've commented in earlier poems. Finally, in 3b, however you read this poem, what was a time that you did feel dead and had to somehow pantomime your breath to be able to continue to live and exist? Thank you.